Alright, what's up, everybody? Just finished a 2-day silent meditation at home. I feel much more grounded, calm, relaxed, less tense than usual. And I'm keen to carry this energy or just this awareness into my week. It is currently Easter Monday, so I don't have to work. Don't exactly feel like going back into my computer, talking with AI, coming up with YouTube titles and stuff like that. Might get back into it tomorrow. But today, just gonna take it easy, meet up with some friends, go for a hike, and see how it goes. Yeah, went on a hike today with some friends, and it was a great experience. The hike was sufficiently long. It was like 2 hours, so sort of felt like it was just the right amount of time. Too much more would have felt like I was pushing myself too hard. Too less, then I would have felt like we didn't go enough. And yeah, the surprising thing was it's like 10 minutes from my house, but I'd never been there before, and it was like, just wow. So green. Looks like you're in the jungle, in the forest. It's where I thought I'd normally have to drive like 2 hours into the mountains to get that vibe, so yep, all in all, a good decision. And yeah, the thing I want to talk about today is the idea of project stacking. Now, project stacking is a term I heard about from the book Anti-Time Management by Richie Norton. And when I read it, I thought it was quite a profound concept. But when I explain it, I feel like it's going to seem very simple, perhaps simplistic, and maybe not as mind-blowing as when I initially heard about it, but I'm going to explain it anyway. And it's not to be confused with multitasking or habit stacking. I want to break down at least my understanding of multitasking and habit stacking first, before we talk about this profound idea of project stacking. So, multitasking is generally not considered a positive. It's when we do two tasks at once. But as we'll see, that's quite similar to what project stacking is. But multitasking is normally when people say you're doing two tasks that you shouldn't really be trying to do at the same time. Or you're switching between two tasks, so it sort of seems like you're trying to do them both at once, but there's so much context switching involved that it's not that effective. It's sort of like trying to answer my emails as I come in, and when I'm trying to code up software at the same time. Like, that's generally not something which people regard as admirable. It's like you're trying to do two things at once, but probably you're not going to get much done than if you had done one first, then you did the other, because your brain can't handle two things at once, or it can't handle that much switching at once. And when you switch from one thing to another, there's a bit of ramp up time that you need to take every time you switch back to sort of get back in the zone, and it generally doesn't end up being a good thing, right? So that's multitasking. Or sometimes people say you shouldn't be listening, or some people, not everybody, some people, like one of my friends says, you shouldn't be listening to audiobooks or listening to music when you go for a run. You're doing two things at once, because they feel like it's a bit of a distraction from the main pursuit, which is running or exercise. I don't know if I agree with that, but I get the sentiment behind it. It's sort of like listening to music or listening to audiobook when you're trying to wash the dishes, which is actually what I do, actually. But the idea behind that is people will say, yeah, but why don't you just be mindful and be aware of what you're doing rather than trying to always stimulate yourself, right? So that's multitasking. I generally agree that we shouldn't be just context switching all the time, especially when one of the activities is sort of a priority and it's a type of thing that requires deep focus. That you don't want to be trying to do too many things at once, like answering text messages or answering your email or yeah, right? So that's not what we're talking about. And there's habit stacking, which was made popular by James Clear in Atomic Habits, which is where if you're trying to build a habit, but you've already got other habits which have already been built, a useful strategy would be to try anchor that habit you're trying to build to the habit that's already built. So it's sort of like saying like, I reliably shower every morning, and I'm trying to get fit, and I'm starting with 10 push-ups a day. Well, the way you would habit stack that is because you already reliably shower at the same time every day, let's say, to keep this example simple. Well, every time after a shower or every time before a shower, I'll try to do 10 push-ups. And that's habit stacking, because you're sort of like, you're trying to latch the new habit to an existing habit. And it's easy to remember it because that existing habit serves as a cue for you to remember to do to do the thing that you're trying to get into, right? Or it could be like after work every day, the thing I want to do right away is go to the gym, right? So the end of the day comes reliably, hopefully at the same time, or at the same time, to keep this example simple. Then after that, I'm going to go to the gym, right? And that's habit stacking. I find it pretty useful. It's intuitive, it's logical, it makes sense, and in practice, I feel like it makes sense because it just makes it easier to perform an action when it's anchored to something that you're already sort of performing, rather than say like, sometime today I want to try to do 10 push-ups at some point. Well, it's like sort of when, and it sort of leaves the door open to not doing it. I just wanted to mention that because I feel like they're adjacent concepts, but project stacking is a bit different, and it's like, it's when you're choosing projects to do, and it's not necessarily in the work sense, but it's when you're choosing like activities to embark on or pursuits to pursue, I suppose. It's trying to have that activity, project, or pursuit tick off multiple of your core values. And I feel like the deeper principle behind project stacking is that time is limited, life is short, it's hard and probably impossible to do everything we want to do, so we have to prioritize. But if we could somehow find one activity where we do get to, I don't want to say achieve, but we do get to, I don't want to say tick off either, because it sounds like it's not that meaningful, but yeah, you choose projects that sort of align with multiple values, if possible. So say you got like 3 values you sort of want to, say for example, you got 3 values that you really want to work on. One might be just family, one might be exercise, fitness, and another might be work. Well, one example that comes off the top of my head is instead of like going to the gym by yourself for an hour every day, then after that catching up with friends, if possible, imagine if you went to the gym with friends. And I know it's not always that simple, but an example simple to illustrate the concept. But if I just went to the gym with my mates, that could potentially fulfill 2 of those values with less time, or with that certain unit of time, and it leaves more time to do more meaningful stuff. It just leaves more time. It's about finding an activity where you can tick off multiple values, or that align with multiple long-term goals, and then it makes achieving them or living them out much more likely, let's just say. So an example from today was doing a hike with friends, right? And it was an awesome experience. Like, got to go out in nature, got to catch up with friends. And I mean, I don't want to sound like it's overly optimizing, because it definitely wasn't by intention, but it wasn't just one friend, it was a whole group of friends. So it was fun due to that dynamic, but you get to catch up with multiple people and get to be out in nature. So you get that, and you get to exercise. So it's just ticking off so many things, and each one of them are like meaningful and important, at least to me. For another person, it might be the activity might take a different shape and form depending on what their values are and what their interests are. But that was just so cool, because it feels like this day has been so, I don't want to use the word, but it feels so productive, or I just felt like it was very meaningful or well lived, or that I got a lot out of it, because there were so many important things stacking up, and hence the word project stacking. Yeah, I felt that example was project stacking applied to a single activity, but I guess it could apply to like any type of pursuit or goal, for example. A related example I read when I was reading The Art of Excellence by Brad Stulberg was that, like, if we're going to climb a mountain anyway, or we decide to pursue a goal, which is to climb a metaphorical mountain, then wouldn't it be cool, and I'm paraphrasing and sort of interpreting what he says, wouldn't it be cool if we climbed it with others? And wouldn't it be cool if climbing it with others made not only the journey more rewarding and fun, but it also made us more effective at climbing the goal? I guess even if it didn't make us as effective at climbing the mountain, it probably would still be worth it, and more meaningful. Anyway, that's my little reflection for the day. Catch you guys on the flip side, and bye for now.